Hello, 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 African Superstar family. We're back at it again. Hello, 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 hello. Please get into the chat room. It's the one and only African Superstar with a live stream. Today, I just want to share some of my thoughts with the audience. I know I have not been live for some time, and I definitely want to share this with the channel. Now, I do want to also make you guys aware there is members only exclusive content, which you get more behind the scenes of what I'm into. Please let me know if you can hear me. I just tried to go live a few minutes ago and there was some issues with the audio. So please let me know if you can hear me, please, in the chat room. Big shout out to the African Superstar family. Yes, yes, yes. I want to talk about this topic today. And in order for everyone not to be distracted, this will be an audio episode. Okay, yes. So if you want to see me, you're going to have to tune in to the evening live streams, family, or the members only. Yes, yes, yes. What's up, J Star? Can you hear me? Please let me get an affirmative before I start this live stream because I was having some audio problems the last time I tried to go live. Can you hear me? A simple yes or no in the chat will be great. Please, 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 family. I guess you can hear me, J Star. I guess you can hear me. I'm trying to confirm. Can you hear me, please? Hello, hello, hello. Are you guys there? Lord have mercy. Call and response is so hard these days. All right. Thank you, Brown Coat Blue. That's what I was trying to get at. All right. Today I want to talk about this thought. The more you want, the more upkeep is required. There's a myriad of things that kind of motivated this topic. First of all, starting with, I was scrolling on Instagram this morning and I ran across a post where there was a gentleman saying that, you know, there's a man who drives a Honda car and that man wants a Ferrari. Meanwhile, there's a man who's on a bike who wish they could have the Honda. You know, there's a homeless man who wishes that he had the bike, you know, that the person who's driving the bike wants the Honda. Essentially illustrating the insatiable nature of humanity, you know, and I think that contentment and gratitude is something that you have to consciously instill into your life because we are constantly being marketed to in this consumerism world. The reason we are constantly being marketed to is to make money for all these industries that are contingent and dependent on us constantly spending our money. When in reality, we could actually be very happy with much less than what we are striving for or we are working for. You know, we don't actually need all the things that we desire. You know, for most of us, our needs are absolutely being met and within our, you know, ability to achieve. You know, when we get down to what humans actually need to survive, it is very, very minimal, very, very basic. Food, water, clothing, shelter, and health. You know, those five things are the most critical elements that we need. You know, do we need designer clothes? No, we don't need designer clothes. We want designer clothes. Even if we get down to the food that we like or we want, you know, do we need to go to the 5-star gourmet restaurant every week? No, we don't need to do that. You know what I mean? We don't need to do that. We want to do so many of these additional things. And there's nothing wrong with having a robust and full life. Okay, definitely I'm someone who has a robust and full life. You know, I've traveled, I've experienced a lot of things. I have a lot of luxury things that I consider luxury. But, you know, I know that those things are luxury and that's what makes them enjoyable to me. Is the fact that I know that I'm actually giving myself a treat, not being a slave to these things. Okay. And, you know, unfortunately, I got some news from, some relatives last night, that a very, very close family friend, my mother's childhood best friend, passed away um, the day before yesterday in her sleep. And, I was reflecting on that last evening as I got the news before I went to bed. And I was thinking about the things that are most meaningful that we do not prioritize, but the things that are kind of erroneous, which we have on a pedestal. And fortunately, last summer, I was able to go to Bermuda with my mom and my little sister. We got to spend time with family that I hadn't seen in a very long time. The last time that I went to Bermuda was over 10 years ago, before my trip last summer. And on this occasion, I actually got to see my mom's family friend. Shout outs to Miss Linda Green and all of her family. My condolences to her daughter, Rajed, and the whole Green and, subsequent family and friends, family friends. I got to see her last summer. And at the time that my mom invited me on this trip to Bermuda, I was actually supposed to come back to Ghana. I had been in the US for a couple months, and, I was supposed to leave in early July, to go back to Ghana. And my mother's trip to Bermuda was not going to be until August. So I actually changed my trip to be able to travel with my family and all of that, which actually got me back to Ghana mid-August. So I stayed an additional, let's say, month to do this trip. Last night I was very grateful that I had made that determination, because that was in effect the last time that I was able to see Miss Linda and spend time with her. And, we are very busy in these environments, our modern world. We are very distracted. A lot of us don't know where to focus our attention and where not to focus our attention. And unfortunately, we are not in the right direction. One thing that a lot of people don't know is the more that you want, the more that you have, the more upkeep is required. You see, this is another great reason to practice minimalism or gratefulness or contentment, because actually it's not going to require you that much to manage it. Purchasing a big ticket item, there's a thrill in it. There's luxury in it. It could be a status symbol. It could be your lifelong achievement or whatever. But the reality is, what's going to end up catching you in the end is the maintenance of that thing. Last week I was on set with the TV series House of Clue that I've been guest appearing on, and me and one of the actresses were kind of going back and forth and talking about when we make it big, and what will we do with our first big paycheck and all those kind of things. And I told them that I would build myself a mini mansion. And we got into talking about it, and I said, yeah, me, I don't want, for instance, overbearing, Gotham style mega mansion with 50 rooms and all this stuff. A moderate structure, obviously with some nice amenities and all those things, will be very, very nice. But I'm thinking about the bigger picture. Okay. I'm thinking about the maintenance involved in the things that you get, and some people look at my lifestyle and they don't understand it. My nomadic lifestyle, in my opinion, my minimalist lifestyle, because whereby some of my friends have these cars and these big houses and these mortgages and all these things that they are obligated to, I am not in those situations. And that gives me a freedom. You see, that gives a freedom. There's a freedom that comes with being content in your situation. I had a conversation a few days ago with a friend of mine that lives in the UK. Okay, this person is, what's up, Tuco? I see you there. Big shout out to the Afrikansuperstar family, guys. If you are here, please make your presence known in the chat room. Don't forget to like the stream. If you enjoy my content, please support the platform in a tangible way. Also, this is a great opportunity to let you know that members only content has returned for a monthly subscription. So you're able to see a lot more behind the scenes, what's going on with me and things like that. if you become a member to members only. So if you're interested in that, there is a join button and you can get access to members only. I think the last week I've posted about 2 members only vlogs. So if you want to see me a bit more frequently, I'm actually segueing more into members only content than, direct content on the channel. Yes, 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 yes. So I was having this conversation with a friend of mine that lives in the UK. He's a Ghanaian, and he is very, very, very jealous of the fact that I'm living in Ghana. I mean, it's evident in the way that he talks to me. I mean, as actually the conversation we had the other day is going to be our last conversation, because I could just see the jealousy in the conversation. He's always telling me, well, you should just come back to the UK. What are you doing there? You don't have a job. You're just frolicking around and all this stuff. And I mean, you could just hear the frustration in his voice. And I know that it's not me. It's his own situation. But the truth is, he's anchored in the UK, for instance. He's had children with a British lady. He I believe he has a mortgage. He's got a car. He has all these anchors that have him involved in his environment that I don't have, which gives me that freedom to come and go. And that's what he's really envious of. I have strategically chosen this life of contentment, and I want to say a word to the wise. For those of you guys that are content in your situations, get ready for a lot of backlash from the people around you who are not comfortable in their situations. They're going to aim that at you to try to discourage you or get you to rope yourself in the way that they are, because in reality, we look at the situation. Okay, why do you care if I'm in Ghana? How does that impact you? It doesn't impact you at all. What if I'm not working a job, a full-time job? Why is that your business? Am I calling you asking for money? Hello? Am I in dire straits? Do I need you? It would be one thing if I'm calling you constantly because I'm living this lifestyle and I can't manage my lifestyle, but I'm managing my lifestyle just well, and you still have a strong opinion. When you find yourself in those situations, know that it's not you specifically that they are analyzing. They are rather projecting their insecurities on you. And because this world around us is so hell-bent on consumerism, few people are able to get to the point where they're like, wait a minute. I don't actually need all this stuff. Or matter of fact, if I cut back in certain areas, that's going to give me more flexibility. That's going to give me more freedom. That's going to give me a lot less stress. If any of you guys know any high earners, or people that have a lot of assets or a lot of property, you will know the extreme amount of stress that those people go through to manage and maintain their situation. It may look glamorous to the everyday person, but in reality, the more you have, the more upkeep is required. Let me just give a simple example to those of you in the chat room. Big shout outs to the family. Yes, I see you there, Brown Coat Blue. Thank you for tuning back in. Yes, I was having some audio issues earlier, so thank you for coming back. Now, let's say I have a single bedroom house. Okay. I managed to buy this single bedroom house for like $80,000. It's in the area, not too hood, but not definitely not the premier neighborhoods. Okay. Now let's say Brown Coat Blue. We all know Brown Coat Blue is very rich. Matter of fact, Brown Coat Blue, you should send me a super chat, because I'm talking about you right now. Hello. So Brown Coat Blue, instead of, I've got this single bedroom house. Okay. So I take a little loan out. I've got a little mortgage on it. My rent is my mortgage is like, let's say $1,000 a month. Okay. So Brown Coat Blue, he's a baller. He's a big shot. He's got a lot of money. He goes for this $2 million, mansion in the ritzy side of town. Okay. Now, he's got a mortgage payment. Let's say his mortgage payment is like $5,000 a month. Okay. He's now got this to deal with. He's got a mortgage payment that's 5 times the amount of mine. Okay. Because he has this mega mansion, he then has to hire cleaners to take care of the house because the house is too big for him and his girlfriend or his wife to manage. He's got to hire landscapers because obviously the upscale neighborhood he's in, they have certain restrictions that you gotta trim your yard every week. You can't have litter. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. These homeowner associations and stuff like that. Now he's also got huge property taxes, because of his property. This man, he's now inherited so much more stress by needing to have that huge house. And we have seen countless celebrities, for instance, go down this rabbit hole. There was Evander Holyfield that bought a house, I believe, in the South that had like 80 rooms or some madness like this. Those houses, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny or rude or anything, but why do you think those plantation houses in the slave era, why do you think they had so many domestic workers? Why do you think they needed slave labor to run that shit? Because it was huge and not one or two or three people could run it. The house was so big, the house needed cleaning. They need cleaners to be able to feed everybody who was around there. They needed, gardeners, and they need farmers, and they need all this stuff. Okay. The more you want, the more upkeep is needed. This is also a very important question for you diasporians that are turning your interest towards the continent. Okay. We have seen a lot of very ridiculous content coming here on YouTube of various diasporians going to the continent and complaining about this and complaining about that. Okay, most popularly, we saw the viral clip from K&K Squad where she complains about the snacks, she complains about the infrastructure, she complains about this, and she complains about that. Now, I know that some of the elements of moving to the continent are a culture shock for Westerners. I know that some things are uncomfortable. Shout outs to Brown Coat Blue. Thank you so much. See, I told y'all he was rich. Huh? See? He giving out $10 super chats. The brother is loaded. I know that there are some definite changes from the Western world to Africa. Cultural differences, infrastructural challenges, access to certain resources or convenience or comforts or things that you're familiar with, no doubt about it. For instance, if you move to Ghana, there's no Starbucks, fam. For you Starbucks drinkers, there is no Starbucks. All right, so be advised. Okay. Some of the other maybe brands you patronize, there is no Gucci store, official authorized dealer in Ghana, in Accra. You know what I mean? If you like to wear the, what's that shop? Foot Locker. You're one of those big trainer guys. You got to always have the latest trainers and the J's and the LeBrons and every other body shoes. Okay, certain things, they are going to be considered imports. Okay, they're going to be considered luxury goods. All right, I actually learned this when I moved to England. There were certain brands that were either illegal in Europe or just not available in Europe, such as just basic things like I use a Noxzema face cream. They don't sell Noxzema here. Certain makeup brands. I was shocked to learn that they didn't have a Sephora shop in the UK for the longest time. I was just thinking, wow, these are things that you're going to learn in your journey. But the question is, do you need it? Do you really need? I'm not trying to be funny, but does K&K Squad, does she need snacks? Huh? Does she really need snacks? Looking at her, judging at, just looking at her appearance, I think that she will be okay to miss a few snacks. Most of us is going to be okay to miss a few snacks. I can stand to miss a few snacks. You know, I could stand to when I moved to Ghana. There's no Subway. Subway was one of the places I used to eat a lot in the UK. There's no Subway in Ghana. There's no McDonald's in Ghana. No Starbucks in Ghana. No Costa Coffee. Some of the places I used to frequent in the UK or America, they're not in Ghana. I can be okay without it. I can be okay without it. Hello? There's no Amazon Prime. There's no next day delivery. There's no Fashion Nova. Okay? I can do without it. It's okay. Originally, and a lot of diasporans, when they're coming to the continent, they want to buy lands. Okay? They want to build a house. All right? I decided, you know what, if I'm gonna work towards that and try to achieve that, it's gonna take me so long to raise the money to build a house and to get some lands. How about I just go and live in Ghana? How about just rent an apartment? You know, this whole insatiable nature that we are groomed on is damaging to us, guys, and it's actually bondage to a lot of us. Some of you guys, if you were honest with yourselves right now, you claim that you want to come to Africa, you claim that you want to move there or whatever. Okay, you actually could do it probably with the resources that you have, but because oh no, I just need, I want to raise an extra, $50,000. I want to buy, 20 acres when I move to Senegal. I need to ship a car over. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you are in effect prolonging your life, prolonging your goals. And just a word to the wise, the more you want, the more upkeep is required. There's something to be said about, if you have noticed, if you've been around rich people or you've observed a lot of rich people, you see that they try to do what? Keep a low profile. They try to keep a low profile because they don't want to draw all that unnecessary attention to themselves. And I've talked about it here on the channel before about diasporans being mindful of their presence on the continent. Because guess what? You're coming in. You are a foreigner of sorts. You're coming into the local environment. You don't know the dynamics there, yet you're coming in. You're buying, like Brown Coat Blue, you're buying 50 acres. Okay, you put up the mega mansion. You ship over your G-Wagon or your Range Rover. You're bringing a lot of unwanted attention to yourself. And that could potentially be a danger. For the sake of this argument, let's look at the difference between a rich white man and a rich black man in many, many, many cases. Okay. I went to a private school, so I grew up with many, affluent and wealthy white people. Their children would come to the school in holy, shoes. I mean, it was almost like, how bummy can you dress? How many times can you wear that raggedy ass pair of jeans? How many holes in your Converse tennis shoes? Okay. It wasn't until I got older that I realized, oh my gosh, these people, their parents have big properties. When we turned 16, they were the first one to get cars. Their parents paid for their college education or gave them a big gift when they got married. Now put the camera on a rich black man or a rich black woman, or even just a black person that gets a little bit of visibility. That person is splashing out on the most expensive cars. They got to let everybody know it too. Okay. They can't just, have these things and enjoy it in their own, environment. No. They got to get on social media. I mean, look at people like Floyd Mayweather. Okay. He walks around on social media with stacks of cash. Jewelry. We're known to wear the big fancy flossy jewelry. And don't get me wrong, I love dressing up too. I love, looking good and wearing nice clothes and all of that. But what I'm saying is, guys, the more you want, the more upkeep is required. If you guys were to see me in Ghana from day to day, most people in my neighborhood don't know who I am and what I do and all of that. Most of them have no idea because I don't tell them unless they find out. That's how they find out. I need peace and quiet and safety in my environment. You see, the truth is the more you shine, the more jealousy it harbors in people who are not shining with you. A lot of those in your echelon or doing better than you, they won't be threatened by you. They'll only encourage you on your journey. But those who have not yet achieved and not where you are going to be the biggest danger to you. Okay, so I'm talking this message today. I hope it goes out to who it applies. The more you want, the more upkeep required. For some of you that grew up in less than satisfactory upbringings, you grew up in poverty, you experienced a lot of lack. This is something you must know because maybe your whole life you've been driving at, okay, I need to achieve these things. I want to upgrade my life, but let me just tell you, okay, the more you want, the more upkeep is required. If you want fame, you want recognition, you want everybody to know who you are, you have to know that nothing in life comes for free. There's a cost associated with doing those things. Okay. Some of you guys are going into social media. If you can't take criticism, if you can't take people being negative on your videos or your content, there was a video that just came out earlier today of Quadro Sheldon. He is a big content creator among the Ghanaian community. And there were some torrential rains in Ghana yesterday, and many areas of town got flooded. It's our rainy season, so this is not uncommon. And some of the low-lying areas and some of the areas where the runoff system, the sewage system is not the best, they frequently flood. I don't deal with this on my side of town. I've never encountered it in the years I've lived there, but every year these videos always come out. So anyway, Quadro Sheldon posted a video today, showing that there was standing water in his neighborhood. And the comments were so deplorable and so insensitive and so rude. People saying things like, okay, well, what do you want us to do? And, well, this is the government that you were promoting. This is what they're the ones who are responsible. And, you should have thought about it. Why didn't you build your house in a different way? Let me just tell you, if you are not the person who can deal with these social media, what is it called? Keyboard cowboys, huh? You can't deal with people critiquing your looks and your hair and your videos and every little thing about you. Hey, don't get out there. Do not get out there because you are going to receive much more of that than a pat on the back. You have to have the internal self-worth. Okay, you have to have your own approval system where you are okay with whatever you're sharing with the world, because especially if you live a good life, huh? You see how they mad at me because I came to Ghana and I haven't failed, huh? They want me to get love scammed. Yes, they do. They want a sob story to be able to, make content about and throw it in my face. They do, huh? They're not happy for my freedom. They're not happy for my experience in the motherland. They're not happy that I'm navigating it and making it, that I promote Ghana, that I make Africa look good. They're not happy about any of that. So the reality is the more successful you are in the world, the more confident you are in self, the more frustrating it will be for people that have not yet, or may never reach those levels. But the more you want, okay, the more upkeep is required. If at your, average level, quote unquote, you learn and master how to be content, master gratitude, you know, master minimalism, you will be able to navigate life's most difficult challenges. I assure you. Even when I got the news yesterday night that, my mother's close friend passed away, the first thing that came on my mind was, I'm so happy that I got to see her last summer, was number one. And number two, she went in the most peaceful way possible. When most of us describe how we would choose to leave this earth if we had a chance, most of us would say, I would like to pass away in my old age in my sleep. Huh? That's the most peaceful way you can go. You go to sleep, you never wake up. You don't know what's coming. You weren't in pain, you know, nothing tragic, nothing, out of ordinary. So I've already trained my mind on how to convert situations into positives. I've already trained my mind on how to see the silver lining out of whatever's going on. That is like a priceless skill. I've already trained myself on how to be happy with my circumstances. Everybody has areas that they wish they could improve. Everybody has wants. Everybody has desires. Sometimes I was talking to my girl, Nunu, big shout out to my girlfriend, Nunu. We were on the phone last week. And, we were talking about these relationships and all this stuff, and we were kind of talking about some of our married girlfriends that we have and some of the drama that is legit happening in their worlds. And, both of us are dating and things like that. But we came to the conclusion, it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad. We are in good situations, and if we could choose, we're going to choose our current situation because it's better. When we think prospectively about the things we want to achieve, we always think in the idealistic image. Okay, if it's relationships, we think about our ideal partner, not actually the partner we might get that brings drama and confusion and stress into our lives. Now, when you're dreaming about your dream partner, but the real partner is taking you through the mud, bringing you stress and drama. No. We think about, when I get this and when I get that, always in ideal forms, not the negative forms. There have been interviews from like Mike Tyson and I saw one from Nigerian superstar Ashake, and they talk about how life was easier for them before they got the money. Life was easier when they were a regular guy. When they could just walk down the street and go for a bike ride, go to the grocery store. Why do you think celebrities, a lot of times when they go out in public, they disguise themselves with baseball caps and no makeup and baggy clothes? They're trying to hide because now their likeness has become so famous that their privacy has been sacrificed. And in some cases, they even have to have security because they have enemies. They have people that want to attack them and people that want to harm them. You see, the more you want, the more upkeep is required. This is such a powerful lesson. We don't teach our kids this. Obviously, it's not encouraged because of the consumerism. They need us to be constantly wanting, constantly, spending, constantly desiring. Never getting to the point where we're satisfied, happy. Man, I've got this house, I've got this car, I've got this spouse. Even in terms of relationships, people are constantly trading partners in this generation because nobody's good enough. Yeah, this person ticks, 25 of my 30 most, important characteristics, but I kind of want this person over here. Maybe I can get 27 out of 30. And we're trading partners and trading friends and all this stuff and just never satisfied. Learn this lesson, guys. Learn this lesson. It's very, very important. And it will help you. For those of you going to the continent, it will help you transform your mind. I don't have everything in Ghana. Okay. I don't have a big car. I don't have a big house. I don't own lands. You know what I'm saying? I don't have, thousands or millions of dollars in the bank, but you know what? I have peace of mind. I have freedom. I enjoy the weather. I'm happy, healthier. You know, I mean, I just enjoy my life from day to day. What type of price tag can you put on it? The things that others might even find annoying, I even find it, you know, nice or pleasant or entertaining. And it's all about perspective. So big shout outs to the African Superstar family. Thank you guys for those of you that are on in the chat room. Please make sure you hit the likes. This is a thought that I wanted to share with the family, and I didn't want anybody to be distracted by my appearance on this episode. So I will be doing a little bit more of these. Hello, yes. I will be doing a little bit more of these to promote those of you guys that want to see my behind the scenes content and a bit more of me. It only makes sense that those that pay for the membership, they get more than those that don't. Hello, yes, I believe in preferential treatment. So we'll be doing a little bit more of these for the normal content, just to get you guys to focus on the message, take it all in, and not be distracted by your one and only African superstar. Yes, family. Big shout outs, big shout outs. Thank you, Wildfire. I'm in the building. I'm around. Yes. And I'll be sharing some of these thoughts with you guys. Also, please catch up on the proximity series if you have not caught up on the proximity series. And I did mention earlier in the broadcast, members only is back for exclusive behind the scenes content. Yes. So you can subscribe and you'll get to see more. I've actually posted two vlogs for last week. Some of the behind the scenes of my shooting on the scenes on the set of House of Clue. Yes. So any of you guys that are interested in seeing how that experience was, shout outs to Matrell on a Mission. Shout outs to Ajike. Yes, those are some of our members only that have already subscribed. So you can hit the join button if you're interested in that. Yes. Please catch up on proximity. I'm not sure when we will resume with proximity. I've just been so busy lately, to be honest. I always tell you guys, you got to take advantage of an opportunity in the window of that opportunity. Hello, you guys have had a lot of access to me, but that might change. That might change as my availability changes. So with that being said, I want to let you guys know I do have a group tour also coming up with Mr. Taye and Uhuru, and that's October 19th through the 26th. That may be the last one for the foreseeable future, So if you want to tour with us, please get your spot reserved today. The total itinerary and booking information is available at www.tayeahuru.com. Quite frankly, my endeavors are taking me up and away, so I may not be available to tour with you in the near future. Yes. So if that's something that you're interested in, don't delay. Make that a reality while it is available. I am still available for your phone consultations and things like that, keynoting your events and performances at afrikansuperstar@gmail.com. Okay, family. So yes, that is going to conclude this episode. The more you want, the more upkeep is required. Okay, you must know that. And that may also allow you to be happy with where you stand and what you already possess. You may be able to have renewed gratification for those things, realizing that, you know what? If I got more, if I did this, if I did that, it's going to actually cost me more. It's going to actually make life more difficult. It's going to actually anchor me to this place. It's actually going to prolong, my retirement or my freedom. Sometimes, a lot of times, less is more, honestly. That's kind of an adage a lot of us have grown up hearing. And it's very, very true. It's very, very true. Sometimes less is more, and I know for many Black people, it's a foreign concept because we have experienced varying degrees of lack and things like that in our lives and in our families. And we want as much as possible. We want as much education as possible. We want the biggest house possible. We want the finest car possible. We want all these things. We think these things are going to give us gratification and give us satisfaction. And a lot of you have already achieved a lot of things, and you realize, wait a minute, this is some BS. This is not what I thought it was going to be. This is, actually getting me deeper in the hole when it was supposed to get me ahead, huh? A lot of us that went for professional degrees and all that, we came to realize at the end, the trades was where the money was at, huh? Trades was where the job security was, huh? We never saw a car mechanic that didn't have a job. We never met a hairdresser who was out of work, or a nail tech, huh? These construction companies are killing it, yet we were discouraged from, or even remotely referred to do any type of trade work and go into these professional degrees that have us in student loan debt, have us not even working in our fields, have us working jobs that are not satisfactory or difficult for us to escalate in, huh? Hello? You see? So in many cases, less is more, and that's something that I've learned in my life. That is currently why I'm able to live the fluid life that I do live, is because I don't have a lot of things that are anchoring me. I don't have the mortgage. I don't have the car note. I don't have, the kids and the partner that doesn't understand I'm a Pan African. I don't have those things that are going to make my life much more difficult. you know, and some of those things it's all strategic. When I moved to the UK, I strategically chose not to get a car. I strategically chose to rent a room in a house instead of going for my own flat or taking out a mortgage on a flat. I've tried to consciously date like-minded people so that I wouldn't be stuck in situations where it's like I want to do this and he wants to do that and he's a stumbling block in my way. All these things are conscious decisions. So that is what today's episode is about. Yes. I appreciate those of you guys that came in the building. Special shout outs to Brown Coat Blue for being the one and only super chat during this episode, and shout outs to my members only who are supporting this platform in a very, very tangible way. I love you guys. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.